Good evening, people. Hope I am audible. Please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Gopi? Audible?
Audible.
Okay, all right. Sure. So, welcome to this batch on DIPIFR. Today, I'll not be taking too much of time from you, but I'll only be taking you through the background, like how you need to get the registrations done, what all syllabus are we going to cover, and what kind of questions are we going to see. Something I'm going to just give a brief intro, and then from tomorrow only we are going to start the effective classes. So today is only to understand the background about the entire course. So many students have asked me, first of all, how do we get registered for the course? Do not worry about it at all, because we have a separate team who deal with all the registration process. There would be an Excel sheet which I'll circulate with you, today after the session. So there is a link for that. You can get registered there. That is, you can fill up the details in that, and the team will call you back in explaining how to get the things done. So what I was saying is, today, as I mentioned, we will only have the introductory part. So with respect to registration, I'll share a link with you so that you can use that link, fill up your details, and our team will call you back on registration process. The pricing for registration is going to be including a book. So if you would like to go with the ebook where you can log in into BPP's site and then access the book, then it's going to be including book 5,500 for the registration. But if you would like to have a hard copy of the book, it's going to be 6,500. So I would suggest you to take the hard copy only, because the ebook is valid only for 1 year. So that really does not make sense for you to take an ebook at this juncture. During COVID, it was suggested because we do not have proper logistics to get the books delivered as well. So today it's not that case. We have logistics available. So I would suggest you to go for the handbook, that is the printed book. So that's with respect to registration. What documentation is required for registration and all, the team will take you through. If you are already a qualified CA, your membership certificate and that alone would do for registration. If you are not a qualified CA, then your articleship completion certificate, what you get from institute, is valid proof along with your intermediate certificate. Otherwise, if you are not coming out of CA route, if you are coming through degree, your degree completion certificate is required. Along with that, 2 years of experience certificate is required, is what they expect you to provide as proof for going ahead with the course. So this is background with respect to how documentation is required for DIPIFR registration. Coming to examination is going to be once in every 6 months, and for now they continue to hold it only in online mode, wherein you'll have to book a slot in one of their centers and write the exam there on the screen. So that happens once in 2 years, as I mentioned. In June it happens, again in December it happens. So with respect to December, in fact, exam happened yesterday only. The 10th of December 2021, exam happened. We are yet to receive the question paper. We'll discuss about that as well in the classes. So that's with respect to registration part and examination. And examination fee is going to be 123 pounds is what for now the fee is. If they make any revisions, it happens, that revised fee is what you're supposed to bear for the attempt which you're planning to write. Now, with respect to syllabus, what we are going to cover, I would share a screen of the syllabus, what all we are going to cover. So fairly speaking, these are the total items what are there which are going to be tested by ACCA in DIPIFR exam. So all put together, there are almost like 35 topics, but still all are not really hard. All are not really hard. There are few topics which are very, very easy. Few topics which will take some time to understand, and also few topics will take time to solve the problems as well. So every topic, what we are going to do is we will first discuss each standard independently. Once we are done, we will go through the questions which are there in the BPP material. If time permits, we'll go through those. If the question standards are not of really great standard, then I would pick up my own questions as well. And apart from that, we will also solve at least 5 past exam questions from that particular topic. So this is how we are going to take through the all the 35 items what we have here. And out of all these standards, what is important for us from examination perspective, I'll quickly take you through. IFRS 7 disclosures, and then financial instruments, consolidated financial instruments, revenues, leases, share-based payments, financial instruments presentation. Predominantly, these are the standards from which never a question paper has come without a question from these standards. So typically, these are going to be our most focused areas. Apart from this, all other standards also we are going to cover, but our coverage is going to be limited only with not too detailed explanations, or explanation wise it would be there, but questions wise we will not go deep into the standards of the questions. Okay, so this is with respect to the coverage of syllabus what we are going to do. Since we are sitting out of India and discussing these standards, for every standard I am also going to take you through comparison with Ind AS. Reason why many of the participants are enrolling for this course with us today is not because of writing the examination. They are not really interested to write the IFRS exam, but they're interested to enhance their knowledge. So with that intention, since many are attending, I'm also going to take you through what all differences exist between IFRS and Ind AS, if at all there is. Otherwise, I'll clearly tell you there is no difference between IFRS and Ind AS in that particular juncture, so that with that the discussion closes there. So this is broad understanding of what we are going to do over the next 3 months, over the weekends. Okay, so out of these standards, fairly speaking, there is a concept called this conceptual framework for financial reporting. This is actually to give you a background as to how the financial instrument, how the entire accounting standards have been drafted. Okay, so that also is part of your syllabus. So there are instances where questions were asked out of that as well. Hence, we are going to cover that also, though it does not really have any impact on financial statements what we prepare, or the real life practical experiences what we generally have. But still, we are going to cover that as well, so that your learning would be holistic. So this is with respect to the topics what we are going to cover. And before we discuss other aspects, just wanted to understand how many are, like someone who has come out of CA intermediate or degree background. Is there anyone of such kind, or all are qualified here? Someone who is attending live. Recorded, I know there would be others as well. Anyone who is not a qualified CA? All right. So Everyone is qualified here. So the reason why I'm asking this is just to have an understanding of whether you have gone through consolidation processes in CA final or not. That's why. Now, with respect to examination, what kind of questions do we expect is also something I need to explain. Examination questions are broadly, completely conceptual questions, but 50% of the questions are going to be practical. That is how we prepare financial statements, or else how consolidation is going to be done, or else how valuation is going to be done for financial instruments. So such questions would also be questioned, and everything is predominantly based on the concepts rather than the the theoretical questions what they generally ask. So our focus would be more on understanding the concepts behind the standards, how they are created, rather than just going through the standard what it is. Yeah. I hope whiteboard is visible, white screen, Word document. Yeah. So as I told you, first we will go through the framework, how accounting standards board has come out. So that we will stop here, and from tomorrow onwards, we'll have the actual standards get on rolling. So framework wise, we have something called IFRS Foundation. This IFRS Foundation is something which oversees how IFRS are being created, developed, and how they are being implemented. Give me a minute. Yeah. So this IFRS Foundation is actually monitored by a monitoring body. There's someone called a monitoring board which takes care of monitoring of this IFRS standard. To this IFRS Foundation, there is one important body called IASB. IASB, which actually formulates the standards and gives it to IFRS Foundation. And there are two important councils or committees which are there, which will help IFRS Foundation in ensuring the quality to be really strong. The first one is IFRS Advisory Committee. Second one is IFRS Interpretations Committee. So there is one IFRS Advisory Committee, council in fact. And then there is one more IFRS Interpretation Committee. These two would actually give guidance on if there is something new to be done or existing standards need a revamp. These are the suggestions what IFRS Council gives to IFRS Foundation, which is going to be instructed by IFRS Foundation to IASB, so that they formulate the new standards, such that the new standards will be circulated to IFRS Interpretation Committee, they would go through the entire standard, understand whether it's being correctly understood or not, so that the standard would be implemented across all the nations where all IFRS is being adopted. So this is the background as to why we have different bodies, everything being independent, and everything operates only for the sole purpose of ensuring corporate, accounting being done in a corporate manner. In fact, very professional manner. Now, having said this, why is it important to have IFRS foundation? Why is it important to have IFRS foundation? If you look at the nations which are actually adopting IFRS, we have many countries which adopt IFRS as it is. So we cannot have different rules for different countries. We cannot have different rules for different countries. Hence, IFRS foundation ensured that any standard which IASB circulates, such standards would be more of de jure. Such standards would be more of de facto rather than de jure. What does de jure and de facto mean? De jure indicates rules based. De facto indicates principles based. That means we go by facts and circumstances. Rather than rules. When would rules come into picture? Say, for example, in India, if you see, take example of AS 26, intangibles. Intangibles state that if an intangible has got indefinite life, which does not mean definite, such intangibles are supposed to be written off over 10 years life. That is a rule which is given by AS 26. Such rules do not exist in IFRS at all. They would rather tell you, go by principles. What is the basis for you to impair, or else what is the basis for you to amortize such intangible? That understanding is what's required rather than going by rules, is what IFRS suggests you to do. Hence, every standard what is being coined in IFRS is basically a de facto standard rather than a de jure standard. So we go by facts and circumstances, and we go by principles. Such principles would be something which would be accepted by all the countries in which IFRS is going to be adopted. Hence, it is evenly followed in all these countries. That's the background as to why IFRS Foundation ensures that the standards are de facto rather than de jure. Now, having said this, excuse me. What kind of standards do we have? What kind of standards do we have? If you observe in the list what I have shown you, I'll show that list once again. There are few standards which have got something called IAS as their standard number, beginning preface to the standard number. There are few standards which have got IFRS. What difference does it make between these and these? Fairly speaking, everything is a standard only. But even before IFRS committee came in, there were internationally accepted standards already in place. Such standards which are still in existence are continue to have that same naming what was initially given. But standards which came out after IFRS Foundation has been brought in, such standards have this sequencing called IFRS 1, 2, 3 and all. That's the reason why we have two sets of numbering which is there in IFRS standards. IAS indicates International Accounting Standard. IFRS indicates International Financial Reporting Standards. Apart from this, as I told you earlier, there is something called International Financial Reporting Standards Interpretations Committee. This is what we call as, interpretations committees, what pronouncements, what interpretation committees give out. These are also considered very important for us in this particular standards. Luckily, what happens in India is though we have something called as interpretation committees, interpretations, these interpretation committees are not separately given as a number in India. Instead, what happens is, for every standard in India, for these interpretation committees, we have got annexures to main standards. So basically, for every standard, if there is something to be interpreted correctly, that is going to be given by the interpretation committee. That would not be added into the standard, main standard, because that's already drafted and it's circulated. And they do not want to make changes to it. Hence, what they do is they come out with something called as IFRIC. This IFRICs are something given as a separate number. IFRIC 1, IFRIC 2, such like that. There will be multiple IFRICs which will be circulated by IASB. Now, these IFRICs are not there in India at all. Reason being, whatever IFRICs are there in international board, these are given as annexes to the main standard in Ind AS. Okay. Hence, we will not see interpretations given by interpretation committees in Ind AS, but in IFRS we do see that. Okay. So broadly, these are something which we need to understand from concept and framework behind how IFRS generally coins out new standards. What is important for us in the recent past, if you observe, from 1st of Jan 2018, IFRS 15 is introduced, which talks about revenue from contracts with customers. By introducing this standard, there are two standards which are withdrawn internationally, 11 and 18. 11 talks about construction contracts. Second, 18 talks about revenue recognition. These two are old standards. Right now, no more in existence. This IFRS 15 replaces these two standards. This is one which is important for us. Apart from that, from 1st of January 2019, IFRS 16 is brought in picture, which talks about leases. By bringing in IFRS 16, the erstwhile standard of IAS 17 has been withdrawn. IAS 17 has been withdrawn. This also used to talk about leases, but today that's no more in existence. We only have IFRS 16, which talks about leases. So these two are something very, very important. Recently, these two are something which are brought in. So emphasis from examination perspective also, we can expect more on these two standards along with financial instruments. That's why in the standards, what I've mentioned, I've marked these two important, if you observe. So yeah, leases and revenue, these two are important, is what I've marked important. Reason being, we have these two standards as new standards in IFRS. Okay, so this basic intro, I believe, is sufficient for now. From tomorrow's session onwards, before I start the session, I would share the material with you for you to follow. The PDFs will be shared with you. For recorded students, in the link you can check out the material which is available in the link. So for live students in the group, what we have, I'm going to share with you at least an hour before the session starts, so that you can hold them on hand and go through that as we go through the session. In questions as well, we're going to circulate our own set of questions along with the past exam questions which I mentioned earlier. So we'll go through all those as well, and that's how we are going to roll out the session. And feel free to stop me wherever you feel not comfortable with the part of understanding, so that it helps others as well. please feel free to stop me and ask whatever doubts you have then and there. So it helps us to interact better and get the doubts cleared. And with respect to recorded students, please ensure that you keep messaging me where you have doubts, so that any doubts I'll keep on responding back on WhatsApp to you guys. Okay. So with this intro, we'll go ahead with we'll stop here now, and we'll go ahead with the actual subjects from tomorrow. Okay. Anything else you want to ask, guys? Any doubts? Okay. All right. Fine then. We'll catch up tomorrow evening. From tomorrow onwards, it's going to be 5:45. Thank you. Bye-bye.